in today's session. Like at fresh level in today's session, only I think 30 to 40% will be relevant. But as you spend 1+ year in the industry, everything will be relevant. So consider this from a long-term perspective. At fresh level, there are very few things you actually mention in your resume. So don't consider that this is not relevant to you. This is absolutely relevant. Going ahead, these are the only things that matters. And as I mentioned in my previous session also, once you are out of the college, your former learning stops. So it is very difficult to get accustomed to such kind of information unless you are highly motivated and you pay money to some institutes to train you. Otherwise this learning stops. And I've seen people who were my batchmates, we cleared in 2009-10, and I have seen the resume since they approach me from time to time for such advices. I have seen the resume, it is very old school even now, because they have never gone through any formal learning process, they have never explored. And at this point in time, after 10 years, when they are applying for jobs, their resume is nowhere close to the contemporary standards, right? So you have to keep learning from time to time. And yes, that is all. Let me start. Yes, so this is I have already covered, but let me repeat this. Your resume is your advertisement. You as a candidate are the product, and your interview is a demo, and you are the salesperson. So you have to make sure you advertise yourself very well through your resume, right? I won't waste much time here. Yes. Now, why resume is important? Because this is where your selection process starts. This is where you cross the line, and I'm not talking about the finish line. I'm talking about the start line. You know, a good resume is something which will put you in the race. That is why resume preparation is important. Once you are in the race, resume doesn't matter, your interview matters. But to be part of that race, you need to prepare resume. As simple as that. So what is a resume? I mean, this is I want to give few guidelines here. Resume is a trailer, it is not a movie. To make sure that you do not make your resume very detailed, just your objective is just to entice the reader. No? So like we watch a movie, we watch a trailer of a movie, or we watch a trailer of a series, then we make a decision whether we should go for a movie or we should watch that series, right? If you see the Mirzapur recently, Mirzapur 2 trailer, basis on that, it is getting a huge fan following. Likewise is your resume. Only if the person sees there is something interested in your resume, he will call you. So make it as a trailer, very enticing. Resume is an advertising material, it is not an educational material. So don't put out your complete history in your resume, either your work experience or is your education. Don't put out everything, just mention, keep it minimalistic, so that the person is interested. Don't make it educational material. And yes, resume, when we talk about resume, when we talk about these rules, these are not rules as such, these are guidelines. You can play around this, you can be creative provided you are within the framework. Because no, you will find a lot of people who say this particular thing is absolutely not to be done in resume. Resume should be X, resume should be Y. See, there are no strict guide rules, there are always guidelines. You should know the guidelines and then be creative within those guidelines. If you're confident, you can always get out of the guideline and create something for yourself. Okay, but till the time you get comfortable with all this, make sure you take it as rules. 1 or 2 years after your engineering, no, after 1 or 2 years of experience, you will get very much familiar. Then be creative, no problem. Okay. Now, before we start, I want to highlight this difference between the two. What is the HR and what is the hiring manager? Now, usually the understanding is at college level, HR does the hiring. That is what the understanding is, which is partially correct. But let me tell you, the person who actually goes through your resume is not the HR. He or she is the hiring manager, your line manager, to whom you will be reporting. Hiring manager is a person who writes the job description. Hiring manager is a person under whose team there is an opening, right? So you have to write your resume considering the requirements of hiring manager and not the HR. HR are kind of people who are shortlisters. Let us say something like this. Now, HR executive is responsible for shortlisting the candidates. Let us say there is a company and there is a requirement. So company has certain policies. So company says we want candidate with minimum 60%. We want candidate who is either a mechanical engineer or a production engineer. Then we want a candidate who has done at least one internship. So these are the criteria. So HR will shortlist the resume from Naukri.com, Monster, whichever source they have got. HR will shortlist resume as per these criteria and then forward this resume to the hiring manager. So it is all about hiring manager. Hiring manager is a key decision maker here, right? So HR's role is only to file candidates who are suitable. Now hiring manager is someone who writes the job description. He is the decision maker. So whatever you write for hiring manager, because HR are not domain experts. If the interview is for, let us say, a design engineer who should know AutoCAD, okay, the HR is no domain expert here. So you have to mention certain AutoCAD terminologies, AutoCAD keywords, which will get interest of the hiring manager, right? Yes, this is the important distinction here. And yes, one more thing. If it is campus placement, if there is a company which is coming to campus, then HR has got upper hand, because hiring manager usually do not come. HR has got certain criteria. You should clear the MT, you should have good English communication, you should have so and so percentage. Basis on that, they will do bulk hiring. So in campus placements, HR is kind of upper hand. Okay. Yes. Now there are two kinds of resume readers. Now this scenario has changed recently in the past 10 years. One is absolutely the human beings like the HR, the hiring manager who go through your resume, and the other is application tracking system, which is usually called ATS. Now, if you consider in the last 10 years, the role of ATS in resume shortlisting has increased a lot. ATS is basically a software or a tool which shortlists your resume and then gives those shortlisted resume to the HR. Because believe me, companies mid-size and larger size companies, they are getting hundreds and hundreds of resume every day. Every day they have to go through hundreds of resume. So it is practically not possible for them to go through it, each one of them carefully. So they use certain tools. We will discuss ATS at the end of the session. Right now, I will be focusing completely on human beings aspect. Right? ATS is of course important, but there are few rules to it. Once you do it, you will get par across the ATS. Don't worry. Yes, so we have to write our resume for human beings. We have to consider the human factors in mind while reading the resume. Now, coming to the resume reading style. See, when a person takes a resume, the reading is completely different than our traditional reading. Usually our understanding is the person, whatever we read is like a book or a document, but when it comes to your resume, it is not like that. People do not read line to line, start to end. That is not how resume is read. Resume is always read firstly in blocks and second in bullets. What is this? We will come to it. And second is skimming. Skimming is basically like reading a newspaper. When we read a news, we are just interested in the crux. We are just interested in what is the focal point of that article. Even if it is a 500 words article, a person can finish it in 25 to 30 seconds just by going through it, finding the what, who, how, etc. That's it. Person is not interested in knowing the entire news article. That is what we call skimming. It can be a fast reading, or it can be just taking the crux of that particular content. So this is how resume is read. Firstly, blocks and bullets, and second is skimming. So whenever you write a resume, you have to consider these two aspects. Now let us focus what is blocks and bullets. So you see here, these are blocks. So every aspect of your resume, you should cluster and mention it in blocks. Like if you are talking about personal information, your name, it should be a part of, it should be formatted in such a way that it looks like a block to your eyes. Second, if you are talking about your education, make it a block. If you're talking about professional experience, make it a block. So person who is going through, he will go from one block to other block. He is not going to read line to line. Okay. So make it as a habit. Whatever you present, make it as a block. Second is bullet. If you see here, second example and first example, absolutely it is the same information. But second is more easy to read. Second is more convincing. The first example, if you see here, people just get bored with paragraphs. So you have to consider here one thing important, that the hiring manager or even the HR for that matter, they are busy people. They do not like to read lots and lots of information. They want maximum information in minimum time. Okay, and you as a candidate, it is your responsibility to make that job easier, right? So always talk in bullets. Don't talk in paragraphs. Second important benefit of a bullet is, there's a tendency to cover everything. If you write in paragraph, there is a possibility that important information is skipped by the reviewer, because they are in a rush. They go from block to block, they just skim the content. So not necessarily they will read each and everything. But in bullets, the situation changes. There is a tendency to read more. So you get the chances of everything getting read increases, which is what we want, right? So yes, make it a habit, write in bullets. And yes, this is important. So whenever you send a resume, you actually got a window of only 10 seconds approximately. If you follow some people, they say the window is only 6 seconds, but I still see it is 10 seconds plus or minus. So if you hand your resume to someone, within 10 seconds they will go through your resume, even if it's 2 pages, even if it's 3 pages. Okay, and even if it's 1 page. So it is your responsibility that the person should consume the entire content in 10 seconds. You should give your resume 10 seconds, and you have to make a job such that within 10 seconds they will be impressed. As simple as that. And believe me, this is true. I mean, I get a feedback that candidates say it is not possible to judge a candidate. It is not possible to make an opinion about someone in 10 seconds. Yes, it is true. It is not possible. But this hiring as a concept, the hiring manager or the HR, they are not there to do justice with the candidate. Believe me, they get hundreds of resume. The candidates are in personal relations, personal network. So always there is someone behind them that there is a candidate. So believe me, this a fair thing is not really true here. What it matters is, within that particular moment, how he is impressed. Okay, so don't forget about the fair and the judgmental part. They have minimum time and they have to do it quick. So 10 seconds is that is what you have as a candidate, right? So make your advertisement effective in 10 seconds. Make it a rule. Yes. Now, hiring manager perspective, as I said, hiring manager always look for a job fitment. So whenever you are writing a resume, write considering what is the requirement of the job, considering the job description, and then write a resume. This is what all matters. So don't worry about the fancy things, your hobbies and extracurricular activities. That may be a point of discussion, but that is not a deal maker or a deal breaker. What matters is a job fitment. At fresh level, job fitment aspect may not be applicable to you, but as soon as you get experience of 6 months or even 1 year or even 6 months, job fitment comes into picture big time. Okay, so keep this in mind while everything that you do in your resume. So yes, now this is something that I would like to spend some time on. See, when a person goes through your resume, even if it's a 1 page or 2 page, this is how the interest level goes. The interest level goes on decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, right? So it is your responsibility. The first half of your page, first half should have all the important information. In the first half of the page, the person should know that you are the right fit. Don't wait for the information to go to the last page or to the end of your resume. That is not the right way, because by that time your the interest level of the reviewer goes down. They are not interested. By that time they have already made their mind whether you are a right candidate or a wrong candidate, right? So make sure you talk about the right information, your biggest selling points, your achievements in the first half of the page itself. If not possible in first half, at least on the first page, right? Yes. Now on the right side, I have mentioned minimum information. So what happens is, when a person goes from one block to second block, at the end of every block, the person retains minimum information. They are not really interested what is written in that block. They find only the crux. So have something which they will take to the next block. Okay. Don't write unnecessary crap. Don't write did this and something which is not relevant. If it is not relevant, don't mention it. It doesn't matter. It will matter only if it is relevant. So better you mention the relevant part so that the person carries relevant part to the next block. Because these are the, I would say, building blocks of your shortlisting, relevant information, right? So usually candidates have this temptation to talk a lot. If they have done a project, they talk a lot. If it is something like internship, they have to talk a lot. See, it doesn't matter. You talk in 2 lines or you talk in 10 lines. If it is relevant, it will be noticed. It will not be ignored. Okay. Now, if you talk something unnecessary, you are reducing the chances of the relevance score. Okay, something which is relevant that should be get noticed, and if you talk something unnecessary, that chance is going down. So talk in talk relevant information, so that that information goes to the next block. As simple as that. And believe me, this is how the interest, inverted pyramid, the interest, it goes down as the person proceeds across the resume. Okay, just going to the next part. Yes, as I mentioned, this is just a brief. So these are the obstacles while your resume is shortlisted. Firstly, you got only a 10-second window. Then the interest level goes down as the person goes across over the resume. The person carries only minimum information, and on the top of it, it is all skimming. So these are the three hurdles that your resume has to fight to the shortlisting process. So believe me, if you are shortlisted, you have an equal chance of getting selected. Don't think that just you are shortlisted so the chance reduces. No, if you are shortlisted, believe me, you have got a very strong chance. This is how it happens. They are calling you, they don't want to waste their time, they don't want to waste your time, they're calling you for selection. So if you're shortlisted, you have got a very strong chance because you have crossed all these hurdles, right? And since these are the hurdles, we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful while preparing our resume. Okay. Now, what should be done so that we cross all the hurdles easily? So I have come up with, I mean, I have not come up with this. This is something which is traditional, I would say. So 4 P's of powerful resume. Let us discuss one by one. Painless. So first and foremost, your resume reading should be painless. The person should not feel the process is stressful. Make use of white spaces, make it pleasing to the eyes. Don't mold the content unnecessarily. Don't clutter it with all the different kind of information that is not required. While looking at your resume, the person should feel absolutely normal. Don't make that process stressful. Second is it should be perfect. There should not be any spelling mistakes. You can use Grammarly if you are weak in grammar. There are a lot of tools online available these days. You just cannot make mistake. Because since there is a easy availability of internet tools, the expectations have gone high. And if you make such mistakes, if you make typos, it really leaves a bad impression. It does not leave it in a good taste. The simple expectation is with all these tools at your disposal, you are not doing something perfect. So no, so it just leaves a bad impression, as simple as that. So don't do it. This is the least that you can do. Position. Now this is important. When it comes to resume, there is no one size fits all. Your resume should be customized where you are applying. So change your resume as per the position you are applying for, as per the company you are applying for. It is not a one size fits all. It is not a generic resume that you have to apply. Gone are the days, like 10 years back this was happening. There is only one single resume, and whenever there is an application, you are sending it. No, that is not what is happening now. You have to make it customized, take the efforts, and customize as per the position, as per the company. And yes, number of pages. So this is something which is very tricky. If you see the industry standard, if you see the standards of big companies, they have a very clear policy that for fresher the resume should be one page only. You do not have to go beyond one pages. But I have seen this in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, candidates coming from tier 2, tier 3 and beyond. They have this tendency of making 2 pages resume, and even in some cases I have seen people having 3 pages resume, which is absolutely not required. I have never seen a person who is reading third page of a resume firstly. I have never seen, even I don't do it. And second page doesn't make sense. You do not have that kind of experience. If you are experienced, if there is a person who is coming from diploma, then work ex, then degree, then it is justified. But at fresh level, one page is just enough. But I don't know what is the situation in Nasik or situation in other cities, but I can talk about the companies that I have worked in. Can someone just highlight me what is the trend now in current colleges? Do they have 2 page resume or 1 page resume? I just want to know. Any idea? You can mention in the chat. 2 pages, okay. 2 pages, okay. Now see, this is something which becomes tricky here. If the standard is, if we talk about Nasik, let us example, since your college is Nasik. So if the industrial standard is 2 pages, and if you go with 1 page, I don't know how that hiring person will look at it. But if at college level you make a standard, it is possible. See, 1 page resume is very much possible. I have seen people doing it beautifully. In fact, I know a person, he was working with me in Thermex when I was in Thermex. He was IITian. He did his BTech in IIT, MTech in IIT, and he had a 2 or 3 years of experience. So all these experiences and whatever he had, everything was in 1 page. His BTech experience, BTech Kharagpur, IIT, MTech Kharagpur, then his 2 years of work, everything was beautifully made in 1 page. Okay, Kalpesh asks, no generic resume means. Okay, I will explain this. Let me finish this resume 2 page. So now this is something that your college has to set a standard. Maybe you can discuss internally with your college authorities and make a standard so that each one of you has got a 1 page resume. If you are one of a candidate who is a one page resume and rest all are making 2 pages resume, then it may be a problem. Now this is, you can try. I mean, I don't know now how to take this, but yes, 2 page resume is absolutely no. Now, Kalpesh is asking what is generic resume. Say generic resume is means like you are having a generic objective. I want to work as a mechanical engineer in a profession where I will grow. Now, this is a generic objective. We are coming to that part, but still I will explain. And there is a specific objective is, let us say you come to know that there is an opening for design engineer in an XYZ company, and you are proficient in AutoCAD, and you are right fit for that job. So in the objective, you will mention that a mechanical engineer with working experience of AutoCAD and looking for an entry level position in sheet metal industry. Now this is specific. So the person who is reading that resume, you are talking about AutoCAD, he will have immediately his frame of mind set that you are a person who knows AutoCAD, who is willing to work in AutoCAD industry, and you come with some sort of functional experience. So your chances go up. And just consider an example where a person has sent a resume. He is not talking AutoCAD. He's just mentioning generic like want to work a mechanical engineer, and his project is in automobile industry where he has not mentioned anything about AutoCAD. He has just mentioned generic. So I hope I am clear. I mean, we are coming to that point again later in our slides, but so far I think you have got the fair knowledge, I suppose. Okay. Now, yes, so these are the 4 P's of powerful resume. Make sure you implement each one of these. As far as the page is concerned, uh, I think you should have an agreement. We all will make 1 page resume. Then it makes sense. Okay. And make it a standard of your college, like throughout the college, not only about mechanical branch, throughout the branches. Then it will make a difference. Yes, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. This is very much true when it comes to resume. You have to make sure that you shine in your first chance. If you send your resume, you do not shine, you are losing out on a big opportunity. You are losing out on a job opportunity, right? So give this task very much importance. Yes, now this is what I'm talking. Master resume. Next to master resume is, so master resume is your generic resume. So you should have a resume ready at your end, which may be 2 pages, which may be 3 pages. This resume is for you. In this resume, in this master copy, you will talk about all your skills, you will talk about all your certifications, you will talk about your objective as a whole, complete career objective, everything. Here you have to talk about everything. This is a copy which is for your reference. If you have participated in paper presentation competition, if you have participated in some college event, some national event, local event, whatever, everything you have to have in this. Don't worry about the pages, let it go to 4 pages, 5 pages. This copy is for you. Now let us say there is an opening in company, let us say there is an opening in Mahindra, they want fresh engineers. Now what you have to do is you have to customize the resume as per the requirement of Mahindra, whatever the position is. So from master resume, you have to pick up certain lines, you have to pick up certain skills, which goes perfect for the job role of Mahindra, right? So this is a difference. The master resume is a generic resume, which will have everything but nothing specific. Then as per the job requirement, you have to make a new resume. So master is something which is your template, and in the new customized resume, you will remove things from master resume which are not relevant and send it over. I hope I am clear. Is there any confusion here regarding master resume? Please comment in chat box. So this is important. Okay. Kalpesh says no. Okay, Swapnil no. Okay, thank you. So this is what master resume is. And second most important thing about master resume, why should you have, is because over a period of time you do lot of things. In last year of engineering, you will do 10 different things, but you don't remember. After engineering, you will do a lot of courses, you will learn a lot of skills, you will learn Excel, you will learn PowerPoint, but you tend to forget. So you have to keep a record of it. So maybe 4 years down the line, if there is some job opportunity, and in master resume you know that you have done so and so workshop on automation, you have done so and so workshop on robotics. Maybe you can use that line after 4 years. I know about automation, I know about robotics, this is what I know, this is what I have done, right? This is again a reason why master resume is important. You just cannot keep a track of things. So master resume helps here, right? Now after master resume, there comes your customized resume as per the company. Before that, you have to do some homework, and this homework is required every time there is some job application, every time you're applying for some job, right? So what is the homework? You have to read the job description. If there is no job description, please ask for a job description. If they say there is no job description, please ask what is the role, what are the skills required. You should know some 2 or 3 keywords. Second is research about the company. Now sometimes what happens is, if there is a consultant who is involved, third party consultant for hiring, they will not disclose the name of the company because there are certain commissions linked, and it is possible that the candidate will directly approach the company. So consultant don't disclose the name of the company. So at least ask them the company is in which sector. It is in automobile sector, it is in cement construction. What is the sector in which the company is? What are the roles they are offering? Are they offering some sales engineer role? Are they offering an engineer application procurement? They will give that information. They have to give it. Then research the skills that are required to fulfill that role. Study about the industry. If it is a cement industry, study some competitors. Try to figure it out. If the role is in opening is in Nasik, try to figure out which are the industries in Nasik about cement. And if possible, if they say you what is the position, research the career path. If a person says that this opening is for production engineer, you should know something around production engineer. What does a production engineer do? 5 years, what is the growth, what is the career that a person will have if he is in production engineer for, let's say, 5 years or 10 years. Why this is important? So you will use this information and customize your resume. Basis on this information, you will come to know what are the skills, what are the important content you have in your master resume, and you have to pick those content and make it a customized resume. Simple as that. Without this information, you cannot make a customized resume. Okay. This is like you are using your homework. The homework is like your threads, you know, and you are weaving these threads in the fabric of your resume, which is very important. It should sound natural, by the way. So take care of it. So now we are coming to resume body. There is headline, objective, career summary, education. How does this look exactly? You should mention. Okay, so let's talk about headline first. So your heading is like your name, your contact details, and your job title. If you're fresher, your education. If you're experienced, your job title, something about your job. So when I'm saying resume body, you see, so everything, if it is about headline or if it's about objective, everything is a block. So your headline is a block, next is your objective block, next is your education block, your certification block. So apply the block concept here. Okay. So yes, now your headline, your heading should be very minimalistic. It should have just necessary information, nothing more, nothing less. People just want to know your name, where do you live, and by the way, where do you live? They're curious how far you are from the company, which locality you come from. Are you from the same city or some different city? This is only required. I have seen people mentioning their address like anything, even pin code and near Datta Mandir and flat number. This is not required. This is not required. This was required when there was a time things were by post. Post office मध्ये काम चालायचं जेव्हा by post letters पाठवायचे. That time this was relevant. Now it is absolutely not required. So your first block should be only this, and it should be very minimalist. Don't dedicate much space to this part. Okay, it is just doing the job. And address very short. Indiranagar, Nasik, Gangapur Road, Nasik. That's it. Don't write flat number and all. I see people doing this. Not required. The problem is no one tells them this is not required. Usually what happens is, at fresh level, you will get a resume template of someone who has done a 5 years of work X, or who is into completely different city, who comes from Hyderabad. You will get a template, right? And then you will just, what you can say, copy paste, or you just modify that. Okay, so the right knowledge is never given to at fresh level, I think. Hence, these mistakes are done. But keep this in mind. Now you see here the first part, which is true. This Lackman, Gail Lackman. You see the kind of information this person has, has mentioned in such a short space. There is a lot of information. There is an address. He has mentioned his skills. He has mentioned his name, mobile number, phone, his internship, since when, the name of the company, in such beautiful manner. He has just done it well, and I think this has taken not more than 10% of his first page. I have zoomed this particular content, but not. And the second, you see, I see people doing this. Name, these all, they're consuming 7 to 8 lines, and this space you can see here on the left side. This is completely blank. If you talk about your details like this, you are committing 1/3 of your page to something which is absolutely not required. Okay, so you are committing one third of your page to information which is not a deal maker or a deal breaker. You can use this page to something which is more important. Okay, so don't do this, right? Any any questions so far? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, I don't think any. Okay, I will move on.
Okay, if you have any question, you can type your question in chat box.
Yes, yes, feel free to ask. Okay, Saurabh is saying no. Okay, thank you. Okay, now objective. Let's come to objective. So we have seen first is your heading, headline, whatever it is. Then is your objective.
So,
Let's focus on.
Praful,
Yes,
Pranav has got one question. So he is
is
asking,
photo necessary?
is yes.
Okay, is photo necessary? You can do it. I mean, there is again no hard and fast rule. Uh, I have seen many people, many senior people putting a photograph in their resume. You can do it, but again, these things are based on which area or which city you are in. As I am said, I'm sorry, but I am not really aware about the scene of Nasik. But if you are going to Mumbai, if you are going to Pune, definitely you can do it. This is one thing. Second thing is the industry or maybe the organization. If you go to a small scale organization, these small scale organizations are not really aware about the trends. They are living in a world of their own, so they may consider it offensive. I was talking to a person some 2 years back, and he was saying like how people are self obsessed and they put their photo on resume. So this was his view. He was a small scale industry owner, entrepreneur, I would say. Definitely, I mean, I didn't say him that it is an industry trend, but he was not aware of what is happening around. Now I know a person. I was in RPG group, so in RPG group I came across 3 4 HR people. I have seen their resume. They had put their photograph, very nice, very good, very trendy photo, headshot. So I spoke to them. They said it's absolutely normal. I mean, we do it. I mean, at senior level of HRs, we always do it. So that was the feedback. So there is a mixed feedback for it. I would say use your own judgment. If you're going for a small scale industry, don't do it. If you're going for a mid or large scale industry, you can do it. And again, there is a caveat. At fresh level, I would say don't do it. At fresh level, get into industry, get a feel. Once you're confident, do it. And there are certain industries like graphic designing, web designing, where people are very much creative, so they can do whatever they want with their resume. I have shown you some resume as we go ahead. So there the things completely change. Okay, so there is no strict yes or no, I would say. I hope you are clear. In case you have any questions, we can also discuss. Okay, now it's going to the objective. Now see, objective is something where your resume starts. It should be about your professional goals. Objective is not compulsory, but I would recommend as a fresh candidate you should have, because already there are a lot of things that you're not talking in your resume because of your being fresher level. There is no experience, so you should have something to sell. So you should talk about your objective. You will find people saying that objective is out of trend, not required. They're partially true. I want, as a fresh candidate, I want you to write something. I want you to talk to your employer, boss, this is what I want to be. Your industry is in automobile and I want to work in automobile industry. This is a selling point, so feel free to write it. Not a hard and fast rule. Okay, pros of objective, it's a good starting point. It highlights job fitments. In objective you can use as a block where you can talk about your job fitment. Why you're fit for the job? Because you know so and so skills, you know AutoCAD, SolidWorks, you know CATIA, and your job is talking about so and so. This is what you can use. Cons is people consider it unnecessary, first thing. Some may even not read it. And the second most is, if you are not writing your objective well, it is a waste of space and time. Usually people do a copy paste job in objective, hence that part has lost its sheen or its importance, I would say. If you are not doing a copy paste job, it makes sense. At least to me it makes absolute sense, and I know people who read objective. Okay, now this is just a template of objective, like looking for an entry level position in so and so department where my so and so skills will be used. This is what it is. So actually how it should read, looking for an entry level position in engineering design domain where my skills of AutoCAD, CATIA will be utilized. Now you write this objective when you know that this opening is for a design department, they are looking for a person with so and so skill, so you can customize your objective. Or second, one more is example, of course, a mechanical engineer with exposure to quality and production function of sheet metal industry, looking forward to start my career or a role, or again looking forward to start my career, looking forward for a role where I can utilize my industry knowledge and learn further. As simple as that. So here the person is clearly talking that he knows what is quality and what is production, and the industry he has worked with is sheet metal. Maybe you have done internship, or maybe you have done some project work. So if the opening is for a sheet metal industry, and if the opening is for a quality department, such kind of objective will work. Okay, it will set the context right. Okay, so do you have any question about objective? Okay. Sorry, I missed a voice just right now. Okay, I don't consider right now any question, so I will move ahead. Okay, thank you. I'll move ahead. Yes, objective. What you should not write in objective is looking looking for a role of engineer where I can apply my skills and knowledge and contribute to the growth of the organization. I mean, this is not making any sense. If you have to do something like this, better you don't write, because it just does not make any sense, right? Or there is one more example: seeking an entry level position to begin my career in a high level professional environment. Now again, not required. I mean, this is not making any sense. So this is where people are pissed off with objective, right? So don't do this. This is a clear cut copy paste job. So don't do this. If you have to do this, you are missing out on an opportunity. Okay. Now career summary. Career summary is different. Career summary is not slightly different actually. We'll see what it is. Career summary is mandatory for professional, not required for freshers. It is a summary of your skills, your knowledge, whatever you have done in your past as far as your work ex is concerned. Usually you should not repeat what you have mentioned in your resume. Career summary is summary of your resume. It is not repetition. We'll see in detail. So what is career objective first? Career objective is your goal, what you want to do, why you are applying in this company. Whereas career summary is about your experience, how your experience suits this company. Okay, so career summary is your past, career objective is your future. Career objective is easy to write, summaries can be challenging, because it is difficult to summarize your 1 year experience, your 2 year experience in just that particular 4, 5, 6 lines. Someone has to say something. I just heard some voice. Okay, anyway. So, so there is a difference. This is the difference between objective summary. At fresh level, go for objective. 0 to 1 years of experience, you can write objective. 1+ year of experience, you should have career summary. Career summary should be your, it is a selling point, I should say. Career summary again sets the context of your candidature right, sets the context of your application correct. So there should be consistency between your career summary and the rest of the resume. This happens when you do a copy paste. Again, career summary is talking something different, your rest of the resume is talking something different. This should not happen. Again, there is one more thing that I would like to highlight is there are people who want to get into a design role, designing. I want to be a design engineer. That is what their career objective is. So they talk about the design certifications, blah blah. I have done so and so certification, but they don't mention a word about it in career summary. Career summary is something fluff or something, I don't know, but there is a complete mismatch. So this should not happen. So whatever you are highlighting in your rest of the resume, it should also be seen in your summary, but not repetition. Okay. Now this is an example of career summary. A mechanical engineer with 5+ years of procurement experience in chemicals and paint sector, well versed with supplier audit, cost benefit analysis, supplier development, and track record of successfully managing procurement of 5 crores. So you see here the keywords like chemicals and paint sector, procurement experience. So this is a candidate who has worked 5 years in a procurement department in chemicals and paints industry. In the 5 years, he has learned supplier audit, he has learned cost benefit analysis, he has learned the supplier development part. Plus, he has managed a procurement of 5 crores plus. So, this is what a career summary. It talks about your experience in a summarized format. By reading this just 3 lines, I have actually visualized the candidate, what he has done in the past 5 years, right? This is what your career summary is. So it sets the outline of the resume, pretty self-explanatory. So any confusion between objective and career summary? Let me know. Okay, I will move on. No. Okay, no. Sudarshan says thank you. I will move on. Okay, now education. See, as a fresher, you should always talk about your education first. That is something customary. You cannot really change this. So highlight your education in what I can say in reverse chronology. Okay, it should always be in reverse chronology. Your latest education, then your second latest. So if you have done a post graduation, it should post graduation be first, then graduation. And one thing that I want to highlight is about percentage. What are your percentage? If the percentage are good, you can mention. If the percentage are poor, you write in term of class, first class, second class. Don't talk about percentage. Don't just give a negative impression at the start. See, it is possible academically some people are not doing good. Academically they face challenges. There are some gap years. So you cannot do anything about gap years actually. But percentage you can hide it. Talk about first class, second class, higher second class, whatever it is. Let them know. No one is going to ask you how much did you score in higher second class. No one does that. Okay, so make it look like this. Maybe they will ignore. Just a moment. Just a moment. I'm facing a slight connection problem here.
In meantime, if you have any question, you can type your question in chat box. You can ask your questions. So I'm going to share a feedback link at the end of this session in the chat box itself. And the same I will consider for attendance of overall webinar session. So uh, you should watch out for the chat box section at the end of this session. And nobody is going to leave the session till my instruction.
Okay, I can continue, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, this is about your percentage part. As far as HSC and SSC marks are concerned, see, again, this is the same thing. There are small scale companies, they are not really aware about the hiring process, but sometimes they expect you should talk about your SSC, HSC marks. So you have to judge here. Once you have done 2+ years of experience, you need not to talk about SSC and HSC marks because it doesn't make sense. Because after your engineering plus 2+ years of experience, so your 10th standard is practically 8 to 10 years back. So no one is really bothered what you did 10 years back, right? Again, if you have got really good marks, if it's something good, mention. If it is not good, try to avoid. Okay? This is a practical tip. Sometimes they may ask why you have not mentioned SSC, HSC marks. You can confidently say, but we don't mention it. I mean, that is not the trend. Simply say it confidently to the HR. This is not the trend. What I did 10 years back doesn't matter. Of course, after 2 years of experience, not as a fresher. Okay, it doesn't matter. Yes, there are companies which lay down criteria like you need to have 60% in HSC, 60% in HSC. In that case, it makes sense. Otherwise, you have a liberty. Okay, but only after 2 years of experience. It makes you a sound professional after 2 years of experience. At 1 years of experience, people still consider you as a fresher. That is a sad reality, I would say, but that's how it is. Now, career summary for, oh, sorry, there's a mistake here. This is not career summary. It should be education. So once you do what you can say, once you are experienced, this is how you should talk about your education. Simple one line. You need not to decorate here anything. If you see here, this is how you have to highlight your education as a fresher. But once you get experience, this is how you should do. This is just basic one line. Focus on your experience only. Right? Again, things should be in reverse chronological. And yes, there is one more thing. After your experience, talk about your education at the end. I will show you. So you see here, after your objective, there is education at fresh level. But once you get experience, you can talk about your education after this 7 or 8, at the 7 or 8, at the end of your resume. So before that, you have to talk about experience, about your internship, about your certification, and then talk about education because it doesn't matter. After 2-3 years of work experience, your education actually doesn't make a difference. Okay, I hope I am clear here. And project, yes, project is something that you should spend some time on. As a fresher, this is one of your biggest selling point. Usually the mistake the candidates do is, they just mention about their project in one line. A lot of times it happens, they will carry their project report for the interview, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how you are representing it in your resume. Okay, so explain your project in brief. make it interesting, highlight the skills that were exhibited during the project which are relevant to the job, if possible. Not possible always, but if possible, try to highlight the skills, try to highlight the areas where you learn something which is relevant to the job requirement. Talk about the engineering concepts used during project. This is again a mistake. If you have done a project in engineering, you should try to relate it to the engineering concepts. uh, be technical, show the people that yes, you are an engineer. Don't talk something vague, or don't talk something which is not making sense to a engineering concept, right? And if possible, mention the project duration, because sometimes the project goes for 6 months long, so it is as good as internship. So it makes sense. If your project is 1 or 2 months, then it will not make impact. But if you have really worked for, let us say, 6 months, then it makes sense, like to talk it in terms of internship, right? This is your biggest selling point as a fresher. Prepare for a project. And as I mentioned in my last session, prepare for a favorite subject and project. Certification skills, again, this is the area which you have to highlight right after your project. But again, the mistake that people do is simply talking in one line that I have done an AutoCAD course of, yeah, like AutoCAD course of so and so, for example, I don't know exactly, or automation course of so and so, 3 months automation course. This is how they mention. Don't talk, use or make a format. This is not a hard and fast rule. You can have any format, but make sure you talk about your learning. Let us say you talk about your automation certification. The automation certification was for, let us say, 3 months. So below that, just because it is a certification doesn't mean you should ignore it. Talk about the concepts. Talk like what you learned in automation. If you have done your project, if you know some case studies, talk about it. Highlight your certification part. If you do not highlight it, it will be ignored, because everyone writes this in one line: I have done so and so certification log, I am so XYZ activities. So don't ignore it. Talk about your learnings in detail, right? So this is something which is very much required. And if you have done the project recently, if you have done some automation certification, some designing certification recently, mention the year. If you have done like through 2 or 3 years back, don't mention, because 2 or 3 years back is something people do not take seriously. If it is recent, only then it matters, right? Again, this should be in reverse chronological order. And yes, recently I have seen a trend where people do this certification on LinkedIn or Udemy or some other online learning platforms, and they talk about it in one line. See, it will not make a difference unless you highlight what you have learned in this certification and how it is applicable to the industry scenario. Just talking about it in one line means you are giving them an opportunity to ask the question which they may or they may not ask. If I see someone who has done a German language certification, I may ask or I may not ask. I'm not sure. But if I talk about it like I'm working for a company like Bosch. Bosch is a company with complete, German infrastructure. The language is German. The overall practices are German. So my German language will come handy in my project work. You never know how, but you have to link it, right? Achievements, extracurriculars. Yes, one line you should mention at fresh level. This makes a difference. This is a talking point, not a deal maker or deal breaker, but definitely a talking point. You never know when you will get an opportunity to sell yourself. So talk about it. If you have got some exceptional achievements like college topper or throughout 70% or something like that, talk about these achievements immediately after your education. Otherwise, keep it at the end. Right? Exceptional achievements should not be going unnoticed. If you are a college topper, say it proudly. Yes, I am a college topper. Being a college topper is not easy throughout the year or whatever it is. The exceptional achievements immediately after education, otherwise at the end of the resume. And yes, there I got this question a couple of times. Does participating in presentation competition or participating in some competition matters? Does the certification matters? See, as I said, it is a selling point. This is first thing. You can talk about it. If you have participated in some paper presentation competition, mention that subject of paper presentation competition and let them ask questions, and then you can shine. Just mentioning participated in a paper presentation competition or won first prize in paper presentation competition and writing the name of that competition doesn't make sense. You have to write what was that competition and hence you won prize. Let them ask what was this. If the topic interests them, they will ask few more questions, and that can be a selling point. So this is how it goes, right? And again, your hobbies and all you can mention in one line. And if you do not have any hobby, just ignore it. Just don't write for the sake of it, reading books and watching cricket. People do this. It will obviously go unnoticed. If you have something, really something, of course mention, right? And yes, that here we come to the end of the resume body. Do you have any questions here? Let me know. Resume body, so that I can move to the next topic. Resume body, I have covered everything, whatever is required. If you feel there is something which is unanswered, let me know. Okay, Tanmay says no, Jagdish clear. Okay, Nikhil, thank you everyone. I will move on. Yes. So yes, types of resume. Now I don't know how many of you are really aware of it, but there are different types of resume. Functional resume, chronological resume, combination of functional and chronological resume. These are the three broad categories. And then last category is creative category. We'll discuss this in detail. So chronological resume actually is a reverse chronology. It starts with your latest achievement and it goes back till it is relevant, right? So at first level, it will start from engineering, then your HSC marks, then SSC marks, then your projects, something like that. So it is a reverse chronology. This is the most traditional and highly accepted form of resume. But again, there are mixed opinions. Some people don't like chronological resume because they are boring, which is true, by the way. Even I don't like chronological resume. They're very boring. They just don't inspire, right? Chronological resume are beneficial only if firstly you are a fresher. Second is there are no gaps in your academic year. There are no gaps in your let us say, if you are working, there are no gaps. If, let us say, you have worked in an industry for 5 years and that industry is completely automobile, like first 2 years you have worked with automobile supplier, second 2 years again automobile, last year again some OEM automobile. So if everything is related to one industry, then you can use chronological resume. There is consistency in your track record. Everything is consistent. There is a complete progression seen in your resume, in your career. Then chronological resume is very effective. And if you have done a lot of certification courses. So believe me, chronological resume is, firstly, at first level, you do not have any option. You have to use chronological. But even if you are experienced, use it only if there is consistency throughout. Otherwise, chronological resume gives a very bad picture if there is no consistency. In first year, you have worked as a design engineer. Second year, you have worked as a procurement engineer. Third year, you have worked as an assistant manager in sales. So if this is how your career progression is, chronological resume leaves a very bad taste. Okay. So your key points are very simple. This is actually the body of your resume. So this is suitable for 0 to 1 years of experience. In fact, this is recommended for 0 to 1 years of experience. So if you're a fresher, chronological resume is only the thing that you need. But again, there are people who have done a lot of internships. There are people who have done some startup. At fresh level, you have implemented some startup. At fresh level, you have implemented some idea. You have done some work for NGO. Then you can get out of chronological part. Otherwise, for an average traditional candidate, chronological makes sense. This is how chronological resume looks like. Very boring, very line format, no much creativity. But again, it is very simple and it makes sense. You see here, you can see February 2014 to 15, 15, 17, 18, 19, 19, 20. So this is a chronology, reverse chronology. This is how it is. Okay. Second is functional resume. So functional resume is all about your skills and your work experience. And educational qualification is not really that important. If I give you an example, let us say there's a person who is a 12 plus 3 graduate, but he has learned coding. Or let us say you are a mechanical engineer, but you have learned coding, you want to go into software development. Then you can go for functional resume. Because here you just want to highlight your skills. You should not say to the hiring manager that I am a mechanical engineer. No, his overall perception will change. You have to say that, boss, I have done Java, I have done this particular language, I have learned Python, I have learned data science, so and so. So I am good for IT field. So this is where functional resume is really helpful. So why functional resume? You've got skills and you've got experience, and you have to talk only about it. You have experience of multiple industries. So let us say you have experience of 3 different industries. But if you show these 3 different industries on your resume, the hiring manager will be confused. He is not sure whether you hire you or not. So in this case, what you do is you talk about the skills that you learned in those 3 industries and how those skills are applicable to the new company. This is how you build a link. Yes, and again, there is one more reason. If there are lots of experiments in the career, there are people who experiment, they go for some startup companies, They find their own startup, then they struggle in their career. A lot of experiments. So functional resume comes handy. And if you have got gaps in your education or in your employment, functional resume are a good way to hide your gaps. But not a good thing to do, because if there are gaps, eventually they will find out. But still, if you have to take your chances, functional resume is good. And then if you're switching industry or switching roles, if you're going from a manufacturing company to a sales company, you know, so you want to talk about your skills and not about your experience, functional resume is something that you can talk about. And yes, functional resume talks about your career highlights, your skills, experience. Functional resume talks about where you want to move ahead. It is not necessarily about your past experience. Okay, but again, not recommended for freshers. And again, for experienced candidates, functional resume is a kind of slippery slope. Shortlisting basis on functional resume is difficult. Either it has to be through reference, or it has to be in a new age industry, in startups. Startups don't consider there is a difference between functional chronological. They are quite open. But if you go in traditional company, process oriented companies, functional resume is not something people will be comfortable with. They will always feel that you're hiding something in functional resume. That is the message that people get, which some cases is true. So depending on your judgment, you can take chances, but I will not recommend this. Okay, this is a functional resume. If you see here, firstly it talks about career objective, then the core qualification, that is incorrect actually, that is skills. So right from the second block to the second last block, the main center page of the resume is all about experience, it's all about skills. So you see here at the end of this resume, the person is talking about employment history just in one line, only one line. So this is how a functional resume is. It's all about skills oriented, all about these kind of resume are usually, if you have got 15-20 years of experience, it makes sense. Otherwise, no. Okay, and moving on. Combination, this is the best of the both world, and I highly recommend a combination resume once you have 1+ years of experience. Combination resume talks about your skills, talk about your summary, talk about your education, talk about your career highlights. Everything can be carefully done in a combination resume. And this is what I mean, this is a highly recommended resume. I mean, I have seen a lot of people, because firstly it is good to eyes, you can be creative. It really inspires the person. Okay, who is the person? Like, you are really enticed looking at the design and all. You just do a random Google and you find very creative designs, not going overboard. Even for a highly technical job like that of a mechanical engineer, a combination resume can do wonders, pleasing to eyes. And yes, highly recommended. Combination resume talks about skills from one industry to second industry, which we call highly transferable skills. Transferable skills are something like, if I am working in IT industry, and if the opening is in, let us say, manufacturing industry, still I can talk about certain skills which are highly required in this manufacturing industry. These are called transferable skills, skills which can be used from one industry to other. Let us say Java. Java is not a transferable skill. If you know Java, you have to be only in IT sector. But at the same time, presentation skills, communication skills, project management. Project management is a kind of transferable skill. Projects are in manufacturing sector, in IT sector, in infrastructure sector. So this is what transferable skill is. And I would recommend, for a good career, you should really have good amount of highly transferable skills. So these skills can be used across industries. You can read about it in your free time. This is a good concept. So yes, this is a combination resume. This is how a combination resume looks like. You can see there are skills, there is a career summary, there is education, there are achievements, and there is work ex, there is professional courses. You can be creative with these blocks. I have just tried something, but this is a combination of both. This is what I was trying with my resume as a combination. You can see here I have mentioned my profile, what I have done in 8 years, about my skills, work ex, my education, the contact details. This first part you do not really have to do this. I was just trying to be creative, but not required. But yes, combination resume is what, going ahead, you should try for. If you really get something good, something pleasing to eyes, people are impressed. People will spend more time on combination resume. That is what my experience is. And yes, creative resume, this is not for everyone. For graphic designers, freelancers, web designers, or maybe if you are highly successful, if you have launched your startup, you are doing really good, you can be creative. And usually for branding people, marketing people who are into creative side, they can have. I'm not spending much time on this. Not So this is a creative resume. This is an engineer's resume, by the way, but this engineer has gone into designing and marketing, and this is what he has made. This is a good one. Then again, this is a resume. This is again an engineer plus web designer and graphic designer. But you see, people are getting creative with their resumes. You know? So if you really have that confidence, I would highly recommend you to do this. You never know what will click. Right? So any questions so far? Akshay asked declaration undertaking. Okay, I am coming to that part. I am coming to that part, Akshay. We'll discuss this. Any other question?
One of the question from I don't know his name. He is asking, sir, I am doing paid AutoCAD course from Udemy from another person's account. Then how it should be represented on resume? It on resume? Should I mention it on certification courses?
See, you
Actually, he is
talk.
doing the course.
Okay, so he's doing the course. See, absolutely fine. Firstly, you should talk in your resume like by the time I suppose by the time you are doing finished your engineering, you will be ready for that. Firstly, you should know AutoCAD completely. You should know that skill, and in your resume, you should talk that you know AutoCAD, and you just firstly you highlight uh, professional skills or certification skills, something like that. You talk below that you mention AutoCAD, and below that you know what you're doing in AutoCAD. You can do 2D drawings, 3D drawings in AutoCAD. You mention that. You have to talk about skills that you know. Just mentioning that I have AutoCAD certification from Udemy doesn't matter. Firstly, don't mention Udemy, or if it is a physical institute, talk about it. Online institute, don't talk about it, because certain people who are, I'm talking practical perspective, people who are of old or previous generation, like they have spent 15, 20 years in the industry, probably they will be taking your interview. So these people have still not accepted that online learning is serious. Believe me, they still have their own doubts की ऑनलाईन कसं काय होतं, ऑनलाईन शक्यच नाही, आम्ही तर असं करायचो. इंटरनेटवर कसं काय, इंटरनेटवर तर लोक शक्यच नाही, तर फक्त लॉग इन करतात आणि झोपा, म्हणजे दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ डिस्कशन आय हॅव सीन. So there is a one generation, they do not believe in online learning. So firstly, I would highly recommend don't talk about Udemy, okay? Because that is a risk. I'm not talking about startup, or I'm not talking about organized industries. I'm talking about small scale and medium scale industries where people are out of touch, where people are still in old generation, previous generation. Okay, so talk about your AutoCAD. Below that, talk about 2-3 points that you can do on AutoCAD and which are industry skills like designing. Simply say I can design so and so. Let us take a example of fixtures. Okay, so talk about that you can do or 2D and 3D design of so and so tools, so and so fixtures. Talk about it. Let them know that you are not just a person who has done a certification. Let them know that you are the person who can design, right? If they ask you की आपने किधर किया है, कुठे केलं आहे, तुम्ही सरळ सांगा मी सेकंड इयरला शिकलो, त्याच्यानंतर आय हॅव डन लॉट ऑफ फ्रीलान्सिंग प्रोजेक्ट्स, प्रोव्हाइडेड यू नो इट ऑफ कोर्स, but you have to prove that you are employable. Just doing a certificate doesn't make you employable, right? Why I'm saying this is because this has happened with me. I mean, there was an interview. I was applying for a different position. There was a person next to me. This is old, like eight years back, and he did this AutoCAD part. So he was asked in the interview to design a scale. There was a computer, and this gentleman, the interviewer, he was a 50 years plus guy. He told that person that why don't you design this scale on AutoCAD as per your dimensions? Just show me. He couldn't do it. Why he couldn't do it? Because maybe he has just attended the AutoCAD course, but he has not practiced that part, so he doesn't know. So if this is a situation, it will not make a difference. So this is how you have to put it. I hope I have cleared that part. Jagdish asks, should we mention time duration of 2-3 days certificate? Yes, you can mention even if it is a 1 day course. See, duration doesn't matter. What matters is what you have learned from that course, and you should talk about it in your resume. In a selling aspect, not the detail aspect. Detail aspect is something it will be done in the interview. Talk about it. Don't mention that I have done a 2 day course or 1 day course. Simply mention I have done I know automation. Like I have done a course on robotics, and below that 2-3 bullets mention what do I know from it. If I done automation, what do I know? I know industry automation. I know how automation works. I know about AC motors. I know about DC motors. I know about how the drive works. So talk something which will make you employable. So even if it is a 1 day course or if it's a 6 months course, it doesn't matter. And by the way, don't mention 2 day or a 3 day in your resume. Why to do it? I mean, why to give that part to a hiring manager and then him decide whether a 1 day course or 2 day course makes a difference? Instead, talk about the skills that you have learned. Okay. And yes, I hope there are no more questions. If there are questions, you can ask. Till then, I will move on. So yes, this is our creative resume. So just a quick recap. So we have seen the hiring manager's perspective. We have seen the powerful resume technique. We have talked about resume body. We have talked about resume examples. And in resume examples, we have seen some real-time screenshots how resumes are. Okay, now how to write. So whatever you are writing in resume, it should be precise, it should be specific, and it should be direct. Now let us take an example. On the left side, highly skilled at using ABC software and designing 2D and 3D drawings of dies meant for XYZ customer as per the requirement. Now this is being verbose, this is being talking unnecessarily. You can improvise this, you can do this perfect. You can simply mention conceptualize and design 3D drawings of XYZ customers using ABC software. As simple as that. Talk in precise and direct terms. This is what I am and this is what I do. This is using so and so skill. That's it. Don't get fluffy here. Second example is handling production line for XYZ component and monitoring production quality to achieve maximum efficiency. Again, very fluff. You can simply say handle production for 250 pieces of XYZ customer, conduct random sampling to ensure consistent output. Very simple. Very simple. Minimum time, maximum information. Right? Keep it simple, sweet. Don't overcomplicate. Now, this is again a resume. Half of the page of this resume is, if you read this page completely, you will never understand what the person is doing. The only thing that you will get to know is he is talking about sales and marketing, but I don't see any hard skills here. I don't understand what is the product. I don't understand what is the company is into. So don't be such a person. Believe me, I mean, since we are short of time, I am not going through this. But even after reading this complete resume, I am just trying to figure it out what this person is selling, which company. You see here, manufacturing, automation, IT industry. 3 different industries he is talking about. Okay, so, and by the way, this person has got only 1.5 years of experience. 1.5 years of rich experience. I don't know how does 1.5 years turns into a rich experience. So don't do this mistake. This is a simple copy paste job. I'm telling you. If you have worked in manufacturing industry, automobile industry, automation industry, IT industry, you should have at least 10 years of experience. Okay, so these are the mistakes that people do. Ideal resume is something that talks that you are suitable for a particular job. It screams that you as a candidate is suitable for so and so job. That is ideal resume, and you can be as close to it as possible. So you should try. Right? Now, resume formatting. Why resume formatting is important? Because it indicates how civilized you are. Not in literal terms, I'm using figuratively. But let us say a person is speaking a rural language. He comes from a rural part of a country and he's speaking rural language. Basis on the language, basis on an accent, we try to judge that he has not been into some school, or we form our own judgment, right? Which is not good actually, but we form our judgment. So this is what formatting talks about your resume. If you are not doing the formatting right, it is not justified. The margin is just poor. It simply says you are not civilized in the professional aspect. Okay, so that is why formatting is important. So formatting should have a clean and minimalist look. Readers should not find your resume as a puzzle, right? He should find your resume, like skimming through your resume. He should get the information. He should not dig it. Don't make your resume a Rubik's cube. People do it. Lot of complicated information. Then the reader has to find the information, and he will not spend that much of time, right? It should not be dense, cluttered. Keep it clean. Use white spaces. White spaces is a part of resume. Don't ignore it. And feel free to bold and underline whatever you feel is important. If you think that there is a X particular aspect that the hiring manager should look at, bold it, underline it, right? That is what you want. No fancy fonts. Your font should look serious, not casual. Your font should be skim friendly. A person is skimming, he should not stress too much on his eyes, too much to his brain. It should be skim friendly. And maximum 2 fonts to give a minimalist look. And don't be creative. Don't use 4 or 5 different fonts. People do it just to highlight different aspects, but don't do it. 2 fonts are enough. And you will find people say, some say you should use Times New Roman, you should use Calibri. See, there is no hard and fast rule. First thing is it should look serious. Second thing is it should be skim friendly. You can experiment. If you want to be safe, use Times New Roman, but that is a strategy to be safe, so that you will never go wrong. That is the strategy. Otherwise, you can experiment with fonts, but keep these 2-3 aspects in mind. And size 12 is an ideal size for normal text. Heading is 1450. This is something you should watch out for, because you have to manage space. If you have to make your resume in 1 page or 2 page for experience, you have to manage space. Hence, size is very much important. And 12 is a readable size. I mean, decent size. Now there are certain wrong practices. So yes, I think Akshay asked this question about personal details, right, Akshay? Akshay, this question or declaration undertaking. Okay, yes, we are coming to that. See, now when we talk about personal details at the end of the resume, this is how people mention. This is just wrong practice. I mean, this is a 20-year-old concept. Don't do this. No one is interested in your permanent address, present address, date of birth, mother's name. This is not required. Absolutely not required. These are things. See, when does this matter? If you are from Nasik, you are applying for a job in Bangalore, you can talk about your current address. And if the person asks in during the interview pre-screening itself that are you willing to relocate, then in that case you should mention what is your present and permanent address, if there is a situation of relocation. But if there is no such discussion, you do not have to talk about it, because that is not required. It is simply filling pages on your resume, right? Now this is a declaration. This is something Akshay asked. Again, this is not required. This is such an archaic practice. I don't know why people are still following this. No one is bothered. I mean, this was a time when resume were actually signed and sent. This is that old practice. Today everything is online, and even if it is not online, still not required. Very old practice. No one talks about it. I mean, I have seen a lot of professional resumes. This is just I mean, this is the old practice, I should say. I think I have answered Akshay's question. This is what Akshay you meant to ask, correct? Please confirm in the comment. Yeah, we'll move on. Yes, again, certain wrong practices. Objective, copy paste, very common. People do it. Don't do it. If you do it, you are wasting your opportunity. You are wasting your space and time. Inconsistency in skill sets. Now, this is happens when you have a generic resume. If you customize, you do not customize your resume. And lastly, if you are willing to go in, let us say, a job role of design engineer, but you never talk about it in your objective, you never talk about it in your project, you only mention in your certifications part. So if you indeed want to go for a job role, if you indeed want to make a career as a design engineer, it should be seen everywhere. It should not be seen only in the certifications part in one line, right? Again, next is not highlighting the relevant information. This is a mistake that people do. They talk about anything but relevance. Don't do it. Make sure that you are highlighting relevant information. That is what the interviewer will take, and he will move on. Talking about obvious details like I know I'm proficient at MS Office and PowerPoint, but MS Office PowerPoint is no more a proficiency. That is what is required. That is something which is by default you should know, right? So don't talk, oh, I know MS Office, I know PowerPoint. That is basic. This is obvious. Yes, and writing strengths and weaknesses in the resume. This is the biggest mistake. Don't write my strengths 1, 2, 3, my weaknesses 1, 2, 3. Right? Strengths and weaknesses should be a part of your conversation of the interview. It should not be written something in your resume. Then languages, no, not required. Hindi, English, Marathi. Doesn't make a difference. Why the person is bothered? If you are a person who is in Nasik and who is going for a job in Mysore or Karnataka, then you should mention I know Kannada. Then it makes a difference. But otherwise, it doesn't make a difference. If you are going in a territory where there is a specific language that is to be learned, let us say you go talk to overseas, you go to Dubai, UAE, for example, and then you mention that I know English, I know French. It makes a difference. But if you know only English, it doesn't make a difference. Okay. Then unprofessional email ID. This is very common. I mean, it is possible that you have made your email ID in your teens and you are still using that email ID. So because I have seen this, people use rocking pronoun or something like that. Don't do it. I have a professional email ID. And yes, avoid using the use of word like helped, assisted. Avoid this. There are times when you have to use this word, but try to have some direct action verbs, like contributed. Action verbs, I'm responsible for production of so and so. Action verbs. Helped, assisted is something used only when there is no option. Okay. And quick tips: in resume, you have to sell, you do not have to tell, right? Telling is important. Always talk about the larger picture in your resume. Avoid unnecessary information. If you are going in an industry of, let us say the role is for production engineer, right? If you are being interviewed for production engineer, don't talk about your AutoCAD skills if you want to get selected. If you say that you are interested in AutoCAD, you have done AutoCAD certification, you have done internship in AutoCAD, and you are applying for a role of production engineer, the chances go against you, right? So that is unnecessary for that particular opening. Start with your best information first, and finally have a consistency in whatever you are talking, right? That is important. Person should get a same feeling while he is going through your resume. As simple as that. Don't break his equilibrium once he is going through from one block to other. Otherwise, it will break the rhythm. And yes, this is important. People go to wrong person for feedback. Okay, don't do this. Get feedback from the right person. Don't go for amateurs. And second thing is, don't go for a feedback. Let us say you are studying in mechanical. Don't go for feedback for a person who is into IT. No experience I'm talking. And this is one mistake. And second is amateurs. Like if you are last year engineering student, you are going for a feedback for a last year engineering student who is equally experienced as you are. So he is not really different than who you are. So don't make this small one. Go to the right people. Go to the relevant people. If you have a work experience in designing, or if you want to make a career in designing, don't go for a feedback to a person who has done his career in automation. They're completely different skill set, completely different experiences. He may not be the right person. Okay. And yes, I think that is all. So that is all about your resume we had today. And I have still overshot by 15 minutes. I'm not sure how much. Yes, Manoj, I think I have covered it all.
Yes, Praful, definitely. Uh,
If you have any questions,
yes,
let me
Sumit.
know.
Yes. So I have got one question from student side.
Yes.
Our students are doing internship in summer and winter as well.
Yes.
As well. So how exactly it will? They should reflect that in their resume. They are doing 15 to 20 days of in-plant training or internship